Hey, what's up guys? My name is Sarthe, and today I'm going to go over the BiS lists for rogues for Phase 4. Phase 4 rogue BiS lists actually don't change from Phase 3, so basically what you're going towards right now with the Blackwing Lair loot will be exactly what you want to get, but I did want to bring it up because it is important to know that like with Phase 4 you're not really changing your BiS lists. There are specific things in ZG that you might want to go after, like the Rogue Trinket. This is more of an item used for PvP, and there are a lot of items that are catch-up items that'll help you get to where you want to be for Blackwing Lair and beyond, obviously, but there's not really an item in ZG that outweighs really anything in Blackwing Lair. So I'll make another quick video basically going over exactly what items from ZG you want to focus on, and that'll kind of change your like pre-raid BiS lists, I guess. I'll do that this week, and I'll go over literally everything in there and what you want to focus on and kind of prioritize too, what you want to get first. But for this one, let's go over exactly what we want for Blackwing Lair, like what are the BiS lists for daggers and for swords in BWL. Real fast, I'm going to go straight into swords because that's the easier one to kind of wrap your head around. It's a lot more straightforward, and the reason for that are because the 8-piece is actually what is the ideal setup for swords. The only thing that's a little skeptical here is that apparently in the live client we don't have enough data yet, but there is some good data showing that the proc rate is somewhere around 2.2% on the 8-piece set bonus from tier 2, and if that's true you might end up mixing and mashing gear a lot more. But for now, until there's more data, we're gonna want to go with the Bloodfang 8-piece. So you're going to set your sights on getting all of the pieces from the Bloodfang set. The tier pieces that are really important to go after first, if you're running swords, are pretty much the same either way, but you're going to be wanting to go after the Bloodfang chest piece. The bracers are really good. The boots are a slight upgrade. If you don't have the pants and the helm already, those are great. The helm is a little bit stronger than the pants compared to tier 1. And the belt is good. It's also a slight upgrade. The boots, there's better boots in Blackwing Lair, but you want these because you're going specifically after the 8-piece, and then you also will be going after the shoulders, which pretty much no one else is going to be rolling against you, and the gloves, which are basically a PvP item, and so you usually shouldn't have to have too much competition there. Everyone's going to want to go after, either way, you're going to want to go after Oppressor's Talisman. This drops off of Nefarian. We've actually seen it drop quite a bit. It's not a massive upgrade from Onyxia Tooth Pendant or whatever, but it is good, and it's BiS, and it'll stay BiS for a minute. Cloak of Firemaw is the other thing you're going to want to go after. You could substitute this for the Puissant Cloak from Azure Ghost, but honestly, it's almost impossible to kill him on a populated server, so good luck with that one. The swords are pretty obvious, right? Chromatically Tempered Sword and Maladath are what everyone's pretty much going after in this dungeon. But even if you're running combat swords per se, you don't even have to be running combat swords, but the claw, the fist weapon, is really good, and it's almost as good as CTS. So you could be running the fist weapon and just run like a Corehound Tooth in your offhand and you'll be chilling. That's a great weapon. You're still using Striker's Mark from Molten Core, and you're still using Hodge, right? Another thing for Molten Core is the Band of Acuria. If you don't have this yet, your best substitute would be the ring from AV Exalted, but by now a lot of people do have this. The Master's Dragonslayer's ring is also not like super contested. It will be your BiS, and this drops off of Nefarian's head every time. It's like the awning gear, so pretty straightforward. The Drakefang Talisman is going to be super contested, so if you get this, if you have the opportunity to get this, go after this first. I would say go after this, go after the chest piece, and go after the swords first, if you're trying to run sword spec for here. The other items are going to be a lot easier to get, but these ones are the most contested. They are the biggest upgrades. Moving straight on to daggers. Well, I guess before I get into daggers, I do want to mention what I think is better right now, swords versus daggers. In the very fastest speed clears of BWL, we're seeing a lot of the rogues run sword spec, and with improved backstab, switching to daggers for Veil. That's because they're also doing a lot more cleave than we are, and when you're running all of like the best swords, you can be doing more damage or the same damage as daggers. But most of the runs of BWL so far are kind of they're kind of a lot slower, right? So swords was a lot easier in Molten Core because you didn't have to deal with mobs turning around all the time so you can get your cleave off. You weren't able to backstab, and trying to position in between two mobs while you're blade flurrying was really frustrating. But you're doing a lot less of that in Blackwing Lair, and a lot of the bosses are just, all of the bosses are just a single target boss. You're not really cleaving, they don't have their main adds. So Daggers is performing really, really well. Sim-wise, it's actually performing better than swords, but it's really, really slight. So I guess you can choose what you want to go for there. As daggers, it changes up a little bit because you're not going after the 8-piece, you're going after every specific piece that is the best for that slot. Now, you'll actually notice in this one, I do have all of like the raid gear, but there's actually a couple items that are a little bit better, and I'll talk about that in a second. So instead of going after the tier 2 shoulders, you're going to want to stick with the tier 1 shoulders. The hit is actually better. Instead of getting literally any other gloves, as a dagger rogue, you're pretty much always going to want ACLG. These things are extremely contested. If you are running daggers and you don't have these yet, you'll probably need to run Mugger's Belt from DM. But for now, let's just assume you're BiS, right? So this is the BiS list. You have ACLG. Congratulations. Perdition's Blade and Dragonfang Blade are extremely close in how good they are, so you're honestly not trying to go after one or the other. Whichever one drops for you is really going to be the one you go after for your main hand weapon. Purds slightly outperforms it in PvE, and the stats from Dragonfang Blade make it slightly better in PvP. It's also a really good tank weapon, Dragonfang Blade, so be aware of that. Core Houndtooth is like your best offhand right now, and as daggers, this thing is fucking amazing. Excuse my language, but Core Houndtooth is amazing. You're gonna be wanting to run Striker's Mark still, probably. So this depends, right? So I'm gonna get into that in a second, but Striker's Mark is what your BiS is gonna say. It's honestly, it's not really, but we're gonna get into that in a second. The huge difference here, the biggest thing you want to go for as a dagger rogue from Blackwing Lair, literally the biggest thing you want to get is the Boots of Shadowflame. A lot of people are actually going after this. Warriors can even be going after this. Hunters might be going after this. Like, there's a lot of contention for the Boots of Shadowflame. Feral Druid tank is probably going to get this first. But these are your biggest upgrade in the entire dungeon other than Dragonfang Talisman. So go after the Boots of Shadowflame. And if you have the Boots of Shadowflame and the tier 2 chest piece, your hit is going to be pretty much off the wall, right? So you're not really worried about hit as much. So even with Bloodfang Bracers, you're not too stressed out about hit, and the 5-piece set bonus, unless you're having threat issues, you don't need to worry about that either. So the real BiS you're going to want to go for as daggers are going to be running the Bracers of the Eclipse, actually, from Dire Maul. And you're going to want to run these. And the other change you're going to make is going to go after the Dragonfang hand cannon. You can also get the precisely calibrated boomstick. It has the same amount of agility, so it's just as good, but you have a little bit less health, whatever. I'm seeing a lot of the highest parsing dagger rogues in the world run the 11 agility bow because they don't have this yet. But you're not going to have that much contention for the Dragon Breath hand cannon, so it's going to be pretty easy to get. As a dagger rogue, that's what you want to go for. The only other thing that I should mention that will switch things up for you is if you are rank 10, if you have the PvP gear. So if you have the PvP gear, you're going to be wanting to go after the 2-piece set bonus from that because it gives you an extra 40 attack power. And the pieces are actually really strong. The reason you want to mix and mash here depends off of what you already have, right? So say you already have the tier 2 chest, then you're going to want to go with the helm and the shoulders. That's the ideal situation anyways. But if you're missing, like, if you don't have Boots of Shadowflame yet, but you have all of the rest of the gear, you might run the shoulders and the boots. The next best after the shoulders and the helm would be the shoulders and the chest piece until you get the tier 2 chest. So just go off of it, whatever you have. Other than that, You can actually run that for everything until you get 8/8 for swords, but Bracers of the Eclipse are going to be a really strong piece because you're over hit cap already. So just note that you might want to swap out and get Dragon Breath Hand Cannon, Bracers of the Eclipse, and the PvP gear. Alright guys, that is a full complete BiS list for daggers and swords in Phase 3 and Phase 4. Thank you for watching. If you like my content at all, please hit the subscribe button. I'm starting to do VOD reviews of people's Blackwing Lair runs as well, so I'll have some of those up on YouTube starting soon, but I'm doing that on my stream, which I'm running the stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, 6 p.m. Pacific, and on Saturdays it's usually around 4 p.m. Right now we're waiting on the raid. Oh look, I just got Ani buff, sick. Right now we're waiting on the raid because our raid leader has some real life issues, but not necessarily issues, just some real life things came up. So thank you guys for watching. Again, subscribe. If you want to see a video on anything at all, hit it, let me know in the comments, and good luck getting that gear.